Hi, this is Kathy with Barefoot Mountain School of Herbs, and in this video we are going to talk about poison hemlock. We're going to learn how to identify it and then compare and contrast it with Queen Anne's lace, yarrow, and elderberry. The information presented in this video is intended for educational purposes only and is not meant to give any medical advice, diagnose, treat, or cure any disease. Please do your own research and prayerfully make your own decisions regarding your use of herbal medicines. Now, poison hemlock, or Conium maculatum, is probably most famous for being the plant that they used to poison Socrates. And it is arguably the most poisonous plant in North America. It most definitely can kill you. It is also the plant that causes people to be afraid of foraging, and especially foraging anything with white flowers. But it is not hard to identify, and the best way to avoid the plant is to know how to identify it and to know what the differences are with other herbs that are useful, especially the ones with white flowers. Now this is a picture of a baby poison hemlock plant. This picture was taken just at the very beginning. It wasn't even spring yet. It was just when we started getting a little bit of warm weather and the poison hemlock had already started popping out of the ground. Now this is what poison hemlock looks like when it's had a little bit of time to grow. As you can see, this one is even already in bloom, but we're going to look at a little bit of the individual parts of the poison hemlock plant so that you can learn how to identify it. Now the first thing we notice about the plant is that it has opposite compound leaves that have a lacy appearance. When the plant gets a little bit older, it sends up a stem, and the stem is always smooth. Most of the time it is purple splotched, and a lot of the times, and I'm going to say most of the time, it also has this white bloom or coating on it. And then when the plant blooms, it has little clusters of white flowers that have an umbrella appearance. This is a good view from the side of that. And here is a view of the flowers from the top. And this is just a little bit closer up where you can see the little umbrellas up close. Okay, I don't know if you can see this very well, but in the center there is an adolescent hemlock plant. It's not full grown, but you can see that it does at the bottom there have the lacy leaves, also toward the top. It has a smooth purple splotched stem, and it has the white flowers. And this is how we would identify a poison hemlock plant. Now this is a picture of a stand of full-grown hemlock plants. As you can see, they're very tall. Usually they're much taller than I am. They all have big arrays of white flowers at the top. They all have the smooth, purpley splotched stems. They are invasive. Once you learn to identify them, you'll probably see them all over the place. I also should mention that you mostly find these on creek banks, in wet areas, wetlands, riverbanks, and that sort of thing. So if you want to go looking for one, you want to go looking on a creek bank. Okay, so now that we know how to identify poison hemlock, we want to compare and contrast it with Queen Anne's lace. This is the plant that is probably its biggest lookalike. And this is the one that everybody is afraid to harvest because they are so afraid of mistakenly getting poison hemlock. So the first thing we're going to look at are the leaves of a poison hemlock and a Queen Anne's lace. On the left, we have the poison hemlock leaves. On the right, the Queen Anne's lace. You notice that they look very much alike. They're both lacy. They're both compound leaves. But what we also notice is that the stem of the poison hemlock leaves is smooth, whereas the Queen Anne's lace, the stem is hairy. So the very first thing you want to remember when you're trying to decide if it's a Queen Anne's lace or a poison hemlock is the queen has hairy legs. Okay, now we are going to compare the stems of a poison hemlock stem and a Queen Anne's lace stem on plants that are just a little bit older than the picture we saw before. Of course, with the poison hemlock stem, we notice that it's green with some purple splotches. Now, that is not always the case, but for the most part, it will have purple on it. The Queen Anne's lace is always going to be green. If it has any purple on it, just leave it alone. The poison hemlock stem is always smooth, and the Queen Anne's lace stem is always going to have hair on it. It might not have a whole lot of hair, but it will always have some hair on it. Okay, now we're going to look at the flowers of a poison hemlock and a Queen Anne's lace. I know you've already seen this picture of a poison hemlock flower, but I wanted you to be able to see it right next to a Queen Anne's lace flower. Of course, the poison hemlock flower spreads out like an umbrella, as we saw before. A Queen Anne's lace flower will often have one little red flower in the middle. If you look close, you can see it. That the legend has it is where Queen Anne pricked her finger when she was making the lace. And it also has bracts around the bottom, and that is two traits that a poison hemlock flower does not have. Okay, this is the close-up again of the poison hemlock flower. And this is a close-up of a Queen Anne's lace flower. You can see the little red spot in the middle very well in this picture. And this is not in every Queen Anne's lace flower, but if you do find that, that is a positive identification of Queen Anne's lace. Okay, this is a close-up of a side view of a Queen Anne's lace flower, so that you can see the bracts that run underneath the flower. You can also see the little red spot up toward the top. I hope this has helped you all tell the difference between Queen Anne's lace and poison hemlock. We're going to move on. We're going to do a quick comparison of poison hemlock and yarrow. I was a little bit surprised to find out that on Google, poison hemlock is listed as one of the lookalikes of yarrow. So I've had at least one person tell me that they're afraid to harvest yarrow because they're afraid of getting poison hemlock. And it would be really sad to miss out on yarrow just because you're afraid of poison hemlock. So we're going to go over what yarrow looks like and how that you can tell the difference and make sure that you're getting the right herb. So again, we're going to start off looking at the leaves of poison hemlock and the leaves of yarrow. The poison hemlock leaves, of course, are lacy. They have a lace-like look. The yarrow leaves look more like a feather. They're very distinctive. Even the baby yarrow leaves, when they come out of the ground, they look just like this. They're very easily identified. Okay, now let's look at the stems of poison hemlock and yarrow. Of course, like we've been saying, the poison hemlock stem is smooth and purple splotched. The yarrow stem is all green. A lot of times it'll be ridged, and it has short little bristly hairs on it. So if you feel of it, it'll feel a little bit bristly. Okay, and we'll look at the flowers of poison hemlock and yarrow. And of course, on the left are the poison hemlock flowers that we've been looking at with the little umbrellas. On the right are the yarrow flowers, and they are a whole lot bigger. Even though they are still little bitty white flowers in a cluster, they are bigger than the hemlock flowers. And they each have a little off-white center in the middle of them. Okay, now I want to look at a few pictures of yarrow so that you can get a sense of what yarrow looks like. These are a picture of a kind of a baby. They've just barely started blooming. As you can see, the leaves are very distinctive. They come out of the ground looking like that. And the flowers are just starting to come out on this picture. Okay, and this is a side view of some yarrow flowers that are in full bloom. As you can see, you know, there's a umbrella of flowers, of white flowers, but they each have a little bitty off-white center, and the leaves, even up near the top, still look like feathers. So it's still very distinctive. And this last picture is just a more close-up view of the flowers. And I do hope that this has helped you become more comfortable in harvesting yarrow. It's just such a useful herb. I would hate for anybody to miss out on it. And the last thing I want to do is compare and contrast poison hemlock with elderberry flowers, because there is a time when poison hemlock is in a stand and it's full grown that it can be mistaken for elderberry. So I just want to make sure everybody knows how to identify an elder flower. So again, we'll start with the leaves, the poison hemlock leaves, of course, on the left. We've looked at this picture over and over, the lacy look to the leaves. The elder leaves are on the right. They're always opposite with the little leaf on the end. Even as babies, when they come out of the ground, they have this leaf pattern. So they never have the lacy look. So it's really going to be hard to get those mixed up with poison hemlock leaves. Okay, now when we look at the stems, we have the poison hemlock stem, always smooth. Most of the time has splotchy purple in it. Most of the time has a white coating. The elder doesn't have a stem. It actually has bark because it is a tree or a woody shrub. So when you're looking for elder flowers, you want to make sure that the shrub that you are taking them from actually has bark and not, just like a stem at the bottom. Now, that being said, at the top of an elderberry tree, you can have some smooth, splotchy stems. So this is where the confusion can come in. And also, as you can see from this picture, there is a white umbrella-like flower at the top. So the key is in making sure that you have a woody bark at the bottom, and that you have the leaves that are in the pattern for an elderberry tree and not a lacy hemlock looking pattern. But don't be alarmed if you do see some red splotchy stems at the top of a elderberry bush. And we will look at the flowers next. The poison hemlock flowers, as we've seen this picture before, the small little clusters in an umbrella shape. The elder flowers are also in a cluster with a little bit of an umbrella shape, but they are tighter together and a little bit bigger. This is a close-up picture of an elderberry flower from the side. And this is a picture of an elderberry flower from the bottom. Now this is an elderberry bush. As you can see, it has the bark, the woody stems going through it. It has the leaves in the pattern of an elderberry, the opposite leaves with the little one on the end. And it has the little umbrella looking flowers. And as you can see, the stems going up to the flowers, they're all kind of red and splotchy and smooth. Okay, so I hope this video has helped you learn to identify poison hemlock and to become more comfortable harvesting herbs with white flowers. If you have any questions, just put them in the comments. Also, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video. Thank you very much for watching, and may God bless you. Bye-bye.